Look, I'm going to show you 5 dating trends that are blowing up right now that could seriously mess up your love life in 2026 if you're not careful. And honestly, even if you think you've got dating figured out, these trends are sneaky. They're already everywhere, and if you don't know what to look for, you could end up wasting months, maybe even years, on the wrong people. Okay, so I know dating in 2026 feels impossible, right? Like every month there's some new toxic trend with a weird name. But here's the thing, some experts are out there saying 2026 is going to be this amazing year of clarity and authenticity in dating. And yeah, maybe for some people. But there's also this dark side happening at the same time. And that's what we need to talk about today. So I did a ton of research. I looked at reports from all the big dating apps, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, Plenty of Fish. And I talked to dating experts and psychologists. And honestly, what I found was pretty concerning. So, I'm breaking this down into 5 specific trends you need to watch out for. We're going to go through each one. I'll explain what they are, how to spot them, and how to protect yourself. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so trend number 1 is called AI situationships. And I'm not going to lie, this one is wild. So, what even is an AI situationship? Basically, it's when people start forming emotional bonds with AI chatbots, instead of, or like alongside, their real relationships with actual humans. And I know that sounds like something out of Black Mirror, but listen to this. 41% of people in the UK said they'd be comfortable with their partner forming an emotional bond with AI. Like, think about that for a second. Almost half of people surveyed are fine with their partner having an emotional relationship with artificial intelligence. But here's where it gets messy. 43% felt uncomfortable with it, and around 16% actually saw it as emotional cheating. Now, you're probably wondering, why would anyone even do this? Well, according to dating expert Claire Renier from the app Happen, AI gives people this sense of certainty and companionship that's really hard to find in today's dating world, full of mixed signals and emotional burnout. People are exhausted, you know. They're tired of being ghosted, breadcrumbed, playing these guessing games with real humans. So they turn to AI for emotional support, to practice being vulnerable, or just to have someone, or something, to talk to at 3 a.m. But here's the problem, and this is big. AI can't replace real human connection. Renier says that if your partner's turning to a digital companion for support, it makes sense that you'd feel like there's this intimate part of their life where you're just not welcome. Imagine being in a relationship where your partner tells a chatbot things they won't tell you. That's not healthy. And get this, a recent study found that while AI relationships could help with things like personal growth and emotional connection, they also warned that people could become too dependent on them and even be manipulated by the chatbot. Plus, there are risks like losing real human connections, emotional problems, and your data being misused. So how do you spot this? Look for signs that your partner or someone you're dating is becoming too dependent on technology. Are they constantly on their phone talking to AI companions? Do they share feelings with an app more than with you? Do they seem to prefer digital interaction over actually hanging out face to face? Bottom line, AI can be a tool, sure, but it should never replace the messy, imperfect, but real connection you can only get with another person. If you or your partner are relying on AI for emotional stuff, that's a huge red flag that needs to be dealt with right away. All right, moving on to trend number 2, floodlighting. Now this one's tricky because it can look like vulnerability and openness at first, which are actually good things when you're dating, right? But floodlighting takes it way too far and turns it into manipulation. So what is floodlighting? According to Brené Brown, who literally wrote the book on vulnerability, floodlighting is when someone shares too much about themselves way too fast as a way to protect themselves from actually being vulnerable. Jessica Alderson, who co-founded the dating app So Synced, says that floodlighting in dating is about using vulnerability as a high-intensity spotlight. Here's what it looks like. You meet someone on a dating app, you grab drinks a few days later, and within like 30 minutes, they're telling you about their parents' divorce, their childhood trauma, their trust issues, their insecurities, basically their entire emotional life story. And here's the key part. They're not just sharing. They're watching your reaction really closely. They're testing you to see if you can handle them, pushing your boundaries to see how much you'll accept. Now look, you might be thinking, wait, isn't being open a good thing? And yeah, it can be. But with floodlighting, it's the intent that's different. Instead of building connection gradually, the person's overwhelming you with information to either push you away or trap you into feeling responsible for their emotional well-being. The problem is this creates an unhealthy dynamic from day one. You're not building a relationship as equals. You're being put in the position of being their emotional caretaker before you've even gotten to know each other naturally. So how do you spot it? Watch out for first or second dates where someone dumps their entire life story on you, especially focusing on trauma and negative stuff. Notice if they're intensely watching how you react. Pay attention to whether the conversation feels balanced or if you're suddenly playing therapist instead of getting to know a potential partner. If you're on the receiving end of floodlighting, it's totally okay to set boundaries. You can say something like, "Hey, I appreciate you sharing that with me, but I think we should take our time getting to know each other at a more comfortable pace." Simple as that. Okay, trend number 3 is called ghostlighting. And honestly, this one combines two of the absolute worst dating behaviors into one toxic mess. Ghostlighting is exactly what it sounds like. It's ghosting plus gaslighting. And according to psychologist Dr. Sarah Gundel, it's becoming more and more common. Ghostlighting happens when someone you're dating disappears for days or weeks without any explanation, and then comes back like nothing happened, while making you feel crazy for even asking where they've been. Let me paint a picture for you. You've been dating someone for a few weeks. Things are going great. You're texting every day, making plans, building something. Then suddenly, nothing. Radio silence. They just disappear. No texts, no calls, nothing. Days go by, maybe even weeks. You're confused, you're hurt, you're wondering what the heck happened. Then out of nowhere, they pop back up. "Hey, how's it going?" Like nothing happened. And when you ask where they've been, they say stuff like, "I told you I was busy." They didn't. Or, "You're being too sensitive." You're not. Or, "I didn't realize you needed me to check in 24/7. This is gaslighting. They're making you question your own reality and your own feelings. They're making you feel like you're the problem for expecting basic communication and respect. Dr. Gundel says the effect of ghostlighting is destabilizing. It messes with your self-worth because you start doubting yourself. Like, am I being too needy? Am I overreacting? Should I just let this go? And that's exactly what the ghostlighter wants. They want you to accept scraps of attention without holding them accountable for their behavior. One of Dr. Gundel's patients who dealt with ghostlighting eventually ended it with a simple text, "I need someone who shows up consistently and doesn't make me feel bad for noticing when they don't." After sending that, the patient told Dr. Gundel, "I thought walking away would feel sad. Mostly, it just feels like I can breathe again." So how do you protect yourself? First, trust your gut. If someone disappears and then acts like it's no big deal, that's a red flag. Second, don't let anyone make you feel crazy for expecting basic respect and communication. And third, set clear boundaries early on about what kind of communication you need. And if someone's ghostlighting you, know that walking away isn't just okay, it's necessary. You deserve someone who shows up consistently and doesn't play mind games with you. Alright, trend number 4 is called submarining, and this one's particularly sneaky. So what is submarining? Picture this. You haven't heard a word from someone you were dating for weeks, maybe months. Total ghost mode. Just when you start moving on, they pop back up like nothing happened. No explanation, no apology. That's submarining. One of the sneakiest toxic trends in dating. The name actually comes from how a submarine works. It goes underwater, disappears from view, and then suddenly resurfaces. And that's exactly what these people do in relationships. You've been dating someone for a few weeks or months. Things seem to be going well. You're connecting, making plans, building something. Then boom, they vanish. No explanation, no goodbye, just gone. And here's where it gets really frustrating. Unlike regular ghosting where the person stays gone forever, submariners come back. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and you finally start to move on. You're healing, getting over it, maybe even starting to date other people. Then, out of nowhere, your phone lights up. "Hey, stranger." Or, "What's up?" Like they never left. Like they didn't just disappear on you without a trace. Clinical psychologist Dr. Catherine Nobile explains that submarining involves a person disappearing for a period and then reappearing, attempting to re-establish contact without addressing their previous absence. And that's the key part. They never acknowledge what they did. There's no apology, no explanation, no, "Hey, I'm sorry I disappeared." They just act like everything's normal. So why do people do this? Dating expert Jonathan Bennett says people who submarine either want to hide their reasons for disappearing or gloss over it. And in most cases, they were dating or spending time with someone else, and that fell through. So basically, you were their backup plan. They went off to pursue someone else. It didn't work out. And now they're back trying to see if you're still available. Sex coach Gigi Engel adds that submariners may also act this way because they feel insecure or bored. Maybe they just stopped seeing someone. Maybe they're sick of being alone. Or maybe they just need some validation and are hoping to get it from you. They want you to respond so they can feel good about themselves, like they're still important to you. And here's what makes submarining so damaging. It's not just confusing, it's straight up emotionally destabilizing. This move keeps you hanging, stuck between letting go and hoping for something that probably isn't coming. So how do you spot submarining? Look for patterns. Has this person disappeared before and come back? Do they have a history of going hot and cold? When they reach out after weeks or months of silence, do they avoid explaining where they've been? Do they act entitled to your attention? Like you should just be grateful they came back? Here's the bottom line. If someone submarines you, they're showing you that they don't respect your time, your feelings, or you as a person. It's pretty narcissistic for someone to have the audacity to disappear on you for months, pop up again, and expect you to be waiting with open arms. The healthy response is to not play their game. You don't owe them a response. You don't owe them an explanation. And you definitely don't owe them another chance. Block their number, move on, and find someone who values you enough to stay present in your life consistently. And finally, trend number 5, perpetual situationships combined with emotional deflection. Okay, so situationships have been around for a while, but in 2026, they're taking on a particularly damaging form. According to psychologist Dr. Sarah Gundel, if you're in a situationship, your partner will keep things vague, not because they want out, but because they're afraid of being in. Let me break this down. A situationship is when you're in a romantic or sexual relationship that has no clear definition or commitment. You're not just friends, but you're also not officially together. And here's the pattern. They'll love you hard in private, but avoid holding your hand in public. They'll spend entire weekends with you, but they won't commit to plans more than a few days ahead. Every time you try to have the talk about what you are to each other, you get hit with responses like, "Why do we need to put a label on this? Can't we just enjoy what we have?" Dr. Gundel points out that this makes your completely reasonable need for clarity look like insecurity, like you're the problem. But it gets worse when you combine situationships with emotional deflection. This is when someone just refuses to go deeper emotionally. Dr. Gundel talks about a patient who, after 3 months of dating someone, could tell you his opinion on 15 different IPAs and knew he loved hiking and the gym. But she knew nothing about his relationship with his family, what kept him up at night, or his feelings about having kids. And he didn't know her any better either. Some people enjoy the attention and companionship of dating, but they're not ready for a real relationship or going deeper emotionally. Others have learned that staying surface level protects them from getting hurt. A problem is when someone consistently refuses depth, they're making a choice for both of you about what kind of relationship is possible. And no matter how much vulnerability you offer, you'll never break through. Here's the hard truth. The situationship thing is not going away in 2026. Despite some reports saying people want more clarity, there are still tons of people who will string you along forever without ever committing. And when you combine that with emotional deflection, their refusal to let you actually know them. You end up in something that feels like a connection, but is actually just an emotional dead end. So how do you protect yourself? First, be clear from the start about what you want. If you're looking for a committed relationship, say that. Don't pretend you're okay with ambiguity when you're really not. Second, pay attention to how someone talks about the future. If they can't make plans more than a few days out, if they avoid introducing you to friends and family, if they deflect every conversation about feelings or the future, those are massive red flags. And third, set a timeline for yourself. If after a few months someone still can't define what you are, or if they're keeping everything surface level, it's time to walk away. You're not being too much or too demanding for wanting real emotional intimacy and commitment. Those are normal, healthy things to want. So there you have it, the 5 dating trends that could absolutely ruin your 2026 if you're not careful. AI situationships, floodlighting, ghostlighting, submarining, and perpetual situationships with emotional deflection. Now you know what these trends look like, how to spot them, and most importantly, how to protect yourself. Knowledge is power when it comes to dating. Being able to recognize these toxic patterns early can save you months or even years of heartache. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button for more dating advice and relationship stuff just like this. Drop a comment below and let me know which of these trends you've dealt with or if there are other dating red flags you want me to cover. And remember, you deserve someone who shows up consistently, communicates clearly, and is ready for real emotional connection. Don't settle for less. But here's the thing. Now that you know what to avoid, you're probably wondering what you should actually be looking for in a partner, right? Because avoiding red flags is one thing, but knowing what makes a relationship actually work? That's where things get interesting. Most people think compatibility is all about having the same hobbies or liking the same movies. But that's not even close to the truth. I'm talking about the brutal, honest truth about what compatibility really means, and it's going to change how you look at relationships forever. I break down everything you need to know in my next video. Click here to watch Compatibility is Not What You Think, the brutal truth, because trust me, you don't want to miss this.